It's the end of the semester, and I'm having mixed thoughts about it. You know, it's going to be good to have a rest, but I'll miss some of the students, that's for sure. It's easy to grow attached to them because I've taught them every week for 32 weeks in total, with a break in the middle. So I've known them for about a year, and it is tough. It is tough. But they're happy to be moving on, and it's not really helpful to like start to have emotions and stuff like that, about things like that. Looking forward to the winter holidays, and yeah, just looking forward to having big rest and getting back into it next year. But yeah, it's just really tough. And in this video, I wanted to talk about Serpentza and Laowhy86. Let's get real. They're fucking idiots. They don't know anything about China, really. All they can do is compare China to America, compare China to other countries, and that's all they do. That's all they do. And their whole business model is basically telling people who know nothing about China that they actually have some insight into China. And what I would say to Serpentza and Laowhy86 is, do you really believe that the Chinese know their country less well than you do? Because that's one of their big claims, they know China better than they do, better than the Chinese. It is ridiculous. Do the Italians know Italy best? Do the fucking Eskimos know Alaska best? It's pathetic, and yeah, it's really ridiculous. You know, it's just really ridiculous. It's sad, and it's ridiculous. And you know, what is also ridiculous is the way they go on and on and on about their China experience. Those guys lived in the richest, most developed part of China, very close to a first world city that they often went to. So those guys were often just going into Hong Kong and getting a bit of rest. And they spent a lot of time in Hong Kong, for instance. And there's nothing wrong with Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong's cool. I went there before. Beautiful place. But you know, that's who they are. You know, they're not real China hands. If you wanna listen to them and everything they say about China, yeah, they did take a couple of motorbike trips, but I know the details of the motorbike trips. I know that they shipped their motorbikes up to a motorbike shop in Qingdao and picked them up, and you know, rode them from there. They went on a ride to. Well, they didn't even go to Laoshan. You know, they just sort of went around the back of Qingdao. It's just, you know, those guys are absolutely full of shit. They are absolutely full of shit, and it's just really sad now that they've totally switched, where they're telling people all of this stuff about China that they know themselves is not true. And you know, you've got guys like Laowhy86 and Daniel Dumbrew, and those guys might made when Serpentza and Laowhy sort of say, we can speak Chinese so well. Laowhy86 can't even speak Chinese, even though he's lived in China 20 years. You know, look, I mean, Guilo's listening might be a bit better than you think. His listening might be actually pretty good. And the other thing is, yeah, he might not know all of the words and be able to read all the characters, but does he understand what's going on pretty well? Yeah, I would say so. And look at where those guys lived. You know, they always lived in new developments. They always lived in the centre, and you know, they getting the elevators up to their nice buildings and trying to recreate some sort of glamorous Western lifestyle. I mean, I have lived in an older style apartment building. You know, that these guys deride. They say, "Oh, this is the ghetto. This is like, you know." Yeah, it's hard. A lot of the stuff those guys say is really hard to take for people who actually have lived in the country. Like, you know, those guys are absolutely full of shit. And yeah, it's not easy to convince people because they've created their audience, they've built their audience, they've created it, and they've built up. All the stereotypes, all the prejudices, all that stuff was already there. So they really just had to, you know, say that and just gather the people. And they grow their channels by like 2,000 subscribers. 2,000 subscribers a day. You know, I mean, it's just they're big, successful guys. And somebody like me who's just like, I mean, I'm not the right person to sort of come out and be some sort of like China hero because I'm not. But I've gone out there and I've done stuff on my own, like real stuff, you know. And I get these commenters saying, "Oh, you just," you know, they try to pigeonhole me as like being someone that Laowhy and Serpentza say that all of the foreigners that don't think the same way that they do are like little nutcases that live these, you know, safe lives. Well, I rode motorbikes around Hebei and Shandong on my own. I didn't need my mate with me and whatever, and you know, I've done it. It was cool. It was great. I'd encourage anybody who comes to China just to get out there and do some stuff. And I've done those things a lot. You know, going on little day trips and getting your motorbike shipped around China and riding around, getting a bit of drone footage. It is unremarkable to me. It's unremarkable to a lot of China guys, and even Laowhy86. I mean, he wasn't filming it, but I mean, he's ridden motorbikes around some places in China, and yeah, hats off to him. You know, but it doesn't mean because I've ridden a motorbike around that I'm some kind of China expert or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, don't believe the hype, because these guys, they're trapped in the algorithm. And at this point, it's just like they're an unreliable source of information. Like, if you believe the mainstream media is an unreliable source of information, what do you think about two guys that are just trying to maximize their profits up? You know, they definitely take what they say with a grain of salt, because yeah, I mean, they're not biased like the mainstream media. They're biased just like two random assholes are biased. That's what they're biased like. You know, they're not having meetings about their bias. They're just biased. Well, that's missing the point as well. China is China. You can compare China to countries of a similar geographic size. You can compare China to other Asian countries. You can compare China to you know, you can compare China to a anything. I mean, you can be really silly and compare it to completely incomparable things, or what's the word I'm thinking of? But you know, it's just like it's an original place. There's no other place like it, and those guys understand that. And China has had the most difficult history probably of any country in the world. It's had, you know, it's got the most difficult international environment of probably any other country in the world. It's got so many different borders, and it experienced an apocalypse with the Japanese coming, and it wasn't prepared for the 20th century, and incommensurables. You know, like, you can compare China to like incommensurable. I can compare China to a chair. You know, it could be. It's comparing China to the United States is almost as silly as comparing China to a chair. You know, like, it's just it's incommensurable. It's incomparable. I think is probably the best way. I shouldn't try to use so many big words that I might misuse, because that's a silly trait. But yeah, it's really, really, really difficult to compare China to anywhere, because it's just unique. And comparing Australia to Canada is possible. I mean, it's more possible, but I think even that is a fool's errand in a way, because the societies are so different, the history is so different. But comparing China to the United States, or comparing China to Europe constantly is really silly. And those guys lived in China. They know the truth. They know what's really going on. But they portray it. They had all the stereotypes. They had all the prejudices in the cultural DNA of Western people, in the mainstream media DNA. And they know what they're doing. And what they're doing is nothing good. They're not doing anything good. They're not activists. They're not helping. They don't have an impact. It's just like creating hatred. And then I've got these guys coming onto my channel leaving comments like, oh, you're a hater and all this kind of stuff. Look, that Lewis Hand guy in Taiwan or whatever, he's a little wanker, you know, with his tattoos and stuff, like, fuck him, you know. And those guys are nutcases, you know, they just pretend to be experts, they pretend to be like geniuses about Chinese history and culture and stuff. And then you saw, like, with Laowhy, just like, I mean, he didn't go there with a shovel intentionally to dig up a grave. Like, when he saw the graves and the skulls, he just did it up. You know, he's a fucking cunt. You know, he's a little cunt. You know, he just doesn't. He doesn't have a brain. There's nothing in there. And, if you want to listen to those guys, to subscribe to those guys, good on you. You know, great. That's cool. That's your hobby. But I think they're assholes, and I think you can learn more from someone like myself, someone like Layla, someone like a Daniel Dunbar, someone like a Wuja, someone like a Charlie Lin. There's some fantastic YouTubers around, you know, like a guy like Jamaica Funk, a guy like James Knight. You know, there's a lot of these good guys that you can learn a lot about China from. You don't have to jump on their bandwagon and go along with all the political stuff. If I was a subscriber to that, I'd just back off, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. They're hate pushers, you know. They're hate pushers, is what they are. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, and I hope everybody's well. Happy Christmas.